Our world has been ravaged. In only a matter of days, the infestation that was once contained had spread to every part of the world. In only a matter of weeks, the entire population that had once been in the hundreds of thousands were reduced to only a few thousand living humans that remained. Those of us that survived retreated underground or took to the oceans, and there are even some that took their chances in the nether. But while the rest of humanity has given up, we, over at the Union, have not. And we believe that with this new program, we will be able to find the soldiers that we need for Operation Shatterpoint to combat this parasite threat, and destroy it from within its core. This simulation program aims to provide a true experience as to the world outside, to find those who are capable of surviving within the apocalypse. As subjects are connected to a device which puts them into a deep sleep and uses their brain activity to simulate a living world that of our control that they survive in. There is, however, one small issue. As this device is connected to their brains, should the subject die more than twice whilst in the simulation, they die for real. As of now, things are not going smoothly. Already we have lost 36 of our subjects, either by parasite deaths, the undead, and there are even some choosing to end themselves before the simulation begins, out of fear of what they might witness. Let's just see how subject 037 performs.
As Subject 37 loaded into his simulation, he got a good look at his surroundings. Immediately a sinking feeling washed over him as he realized that he may have ended up on an island, one of the worst spawns that he could possibly got. Not wanting this unfortunate spawn to affect him, however, he began to travel towards a nearby forest which he spotted, coming across a lava pool, in the process which he took note of. Upon confirming his suspicions that he was indeed on an island, he wasted no time into gathering his first pieces of wood to prepare him for the journey ahead. After crafting a wooden pick and gathering some stone from the nearby lava pool, he crafted up an axe and was able to cut down 2 trees, getting loads of saplings, some apples, and even netting a queen bee in the process. Moving forward, 37 spotted a few sheep but knew that he needed a tree of the same type of wool in order to make a bed for himself, so he ended up leaving the sheep behind whilst he looked for more, taking note of their position. Moving into a nearby cave, 37 spotted some copper ore which he quickly harvested before heading back out and slaying the sheep for their wool before moving on. After successfully finding more sheep for both food and the wool, 37 made a smoker and cooked some skewers in which he got the mutton from the sheep. These skewers would indeed help with his food supply for now. As he walked through the island, he came across some cows in which he managed to get more food from, and even found a village by the name of Dramido. However, a storm had brewed up before he could make his way to the village, and 37 was forced to find cover before he got sucked up by the tornado that was already oncoming. Carving out a small area within the stone's surface, he managed to get some rest for the night. The next day, the storm cleared and 37 made haste towards the village. Upon reaching it, he instantly looted the first house that he found, which gave him a ton of food, some leather armor, and an iron axe. With the room that he last looted being completely ideal for a base of operations, he quickly decided to convert that into his home. And after dumping some stuff in the chest, he continued looting the village and even found another structure right next to the one he just looted, containing a bow and a stack of arrows, as well as a blacksmith that resided somewhere in the village that contained blocks of gunpowder, some iron armor, and as well as 2 diamonds. Making his way to the castle, he talked with the village lord and managed to accept the quest, which promised some reputation, as well as some emeralds in exchange for gathering some items. Deciding to head back to the mainland, 37 went in search of some gravel and clay that were required for the quest before stumbling upon a cave with some iron in it. However, that cave was, let's just say, not exactly empty. A zombie farmer, upon spotting him, gave chase immediately. Armed with a hand cannon, 37 quickly retreated outside the cave, then laid in ambush, waiting for the zombie to emerge. As the zombie caught fire upon contact with the sun, one of the village sentries spotted the undead and took it down before 37 or the zombie had a chance to react. Collecting the drops, he made his way back into the cave, where he gathered up the iron that he mined, and came across yet another zombie farmer, but thankfully he wasn't armed with a gun this time, and was swiftly taken down. After smelting up some iron and crafting a new pickaxe, as well as a bucket, 37 ventured deeper down into the cave, where he came across a creeper that he was unfortunately unable to defeat before it exploded, leaving behind a lingering cloud of Koth, which is also the Parasite infection. Going even deeper, 37 could hear them. The parasites. They were moving about, crawling through the caves. He didn't know where they were, but decided to make a shield to better protect himself should he need to fight. And that was indeed a good idea. Reaching a small clearing, he jumped at the sight of a simulated human. But thankfully, the simulated human wasn't able to get to his location as the ledge prevented them from climbing to his level. However, while it stopped the parasitic zombies, it didn't stop the ruptors, the infectors, in other words. One by one, up till 3 of them climbed their way to his platform and began to hammer away at his armor. His health plummeted as his axe wasn't equipped to deal with targets that could both move and attack quickly. And as he tried to fight back, another simulated human burst out from the shadows and started to give chase. Knowing that staying would definitely spell his doom, 37 ran back up the cave and managed to use his bow to snipe down the ruptor and the simulated human that gave chase. The rest, thankfully, losing interest. Calming himself down, he went back into the caves. He still needed the resources that lay within and smelted the rest of his iron to better prepare and equip himself. Upon reaching back to the clearing, 37 did indeed get to witness one of the zombies get turned into one of those horrific creatures right in front of him, before having to fight off yet another ruptor that was awaiting for him. Knowing that he wouldn't be able to safely defend himself with that axe, 37 went back to his furnace and gathered up the iron, turning them into an iron sword as he went deeper into the caves. With his new weapon, he was actually able to defend himself against a small group of parasites that he found within the clearing, although taking significant damage in the process. Upon reaching another clearing, he found an abundance of ores such as lead, iron, and even tin. However, he also saw many items laying on the ground nearby, the remains of the undead, who were now turned into one of the parasites. Moving cautiously, 37 spotted a group of 4 assimilated humans deep within the cave and decided not to engage them, but that it was time to leave. Upon making his way to leave, he got jumped by 4 ruptors all of a sudden, all of which attacking in a one-by-one fashion. He managed to dispatch the first 2 with ease, using his shield and his sword in a defensive and attacking stance. However, the third was also taken down swiftly, but causing little trouble. However, the fourth was relentless, leaping directly from the shadows at such a speed that 37 wasn't able to react, causing him to reach critical health before he finally took it down. Heating up, he made his way back to the surface where he noticed that it was night and decided to make a break for the village. Smelting up some iron, he crafted the final 2 pieces for a full set of iron armor as he made the run for it. He spotted all types of monsters, but he didn't care. He just ran as fast as he could and managed to reach the village just as the sun began to rise. However, there wasn't any sentries near the village that resulted in 37 having to dispatch a zombie farmer that was there, as well as a buglin, which is the first evolution phase of the parasites. Upon reaching home, 37 went to smelting his ores and cooking some food as the mutton skewers he had previously ran out due to skirmishes that he had constantly with the parasites of the ground. He also began researching parts for the hand cannon, the most basic type of guns. However, he was still short of some materials. Deciding to head back to the mainland for supplies, 37 went outside and almost got blown up by a creeper, but thankfully he was not. After repairing the damage done to his house, 37 set off towards the mainland to get the remaining supplies for both the gun and his quest. Upon reaching, he noticed that assimilated humans dotted the landscape, although they were by themselves and not in groups. He managed to dispatch a few of those parasites as he looked for the items he needed for the quest and the gun. And after another close call with one of those parasites, 37 finally made his way back. Crafting the gun, 37 then realized he was out of cobblestone for the quest and returned to the mainland to get more. But what he found was not what he expected. A primitive bolster, and an evolved parasite was waiting for him. Thankfully, that was just it. Nothing supporting it, and thus 37 was able to take the creature down relatively easily, getting multiple advanced items for a lore component. With that, 37 was able to get the stone that he needed after another skirmish with more parasites, only to realize that the village lord was talking about clay blocks rather than the actual clay, which led him back to the mainland for one final time before finally completing the quest and earning his rewards. Deciding to do another quest to earn more reputation, 37 went to the village lord to inquire of what his next mission was. For this next quest, he was required to get together 47 pieces of wood, as well as 47 leaves, both of which were easy to get. And satisfied with the progress, 37 went to bed for the night. In the morning, he looked through the items that he had and realized that although he had a decent amount of ore for the ammo, it was not going to help him in the long run. With that, he decided to head back into the cave, although dreading it, to gather more ores for advanced weapons and ammo. And after crafting a new pickaxe and gathering some spare gunpowder in case he needed to craft emergency ammo, that's exactly what he did. Drawing his gun, 37 cautiously made his way through the cave. He wasn't going to rush anything. He knew that this cave was infested with parasites, and if even one spotted him, it could very well spell his doom. Moving closely, checking every corner, 37 could hear the parasites moving about and infecting the undead that too lived within the cave. Coming across the intersection, 37 spotted a zombie miner which he swiftly gunned down before lighting up the area around it, which had a path opening to a ravine. There he noticed an assimilated human and other parasite remains, warning him that this ravine would be dangerous. Moving in cautiously, 37 built a small platform to hopefully snipe the parasites in view before he went in to get the loot. But this parasite spotted him, and a group of assimilated humans along with a zombie miner attacked his position. Thankfully, however, the platform allowed him the high ground, which he managed to cleave his sword through the parasites, even after one of them exploded and infected the zombie miner, converting it. After dispatching the parasites, 37 moved into the cave, still cautious that any could jump out at any moment. But thankfully, the assault was over, for now. The ravine itself was rich with resources. Iron, tin, and copper ores covering the walls of the ravine and the small caves that were nearby. There was even some gold that stood out next around and nearby some tin, as well as a piece of titanium ore on the ground, which he could not yet get due to not having a diamond pickaxe. But not wasting any time, 37 got to work to harvesting the ores. And upon gathering some lead and getting shot by a zombie miner, he knew that this was his time to leave and headed out of the cave, thankfully not meeting any resistance along the way. However, it was already nighttime by the time he left, so he decided to camp in the shallow and the safe part of the cave for the night. In the morning, he made his way up to the village and proceeded to smelt up the iron to craft the revolver another basic gun that uses actual ammo and can actually hold multiple shots within one round. He also managed to craft multiple lore blocks, using some of the materials he'd got after killing the bolster and multiple ruptors. He wasn't too sure what they did, but in a way he could feel the air lighten a little after placing them down, where they disappeared shortly after. As well as getting an upgraded furnace for more smelting efficiency. After waiting for a little while for the ores to smelt, 37 was able to craft an ammo press which is used to make ammo for the base guns moving forward. But realizing he needed more wood to craft the revolver, 37 decided to make some ammo for the gun first so as to not waste time later. He also crafted a weather deflector that could kill any storm that could potentially be destructive, and shears together leaves for the quest before once again heading for the mainland. This time his trip to the mainland was relatively peaceful. He managed to gather up all the leaves and the wool he needed while only facing a single parasite which he sniped before it noticed him. With how well the mainland trip was going, 37 decided to spend some time to explore the region to see if he could find any interesting structures or items scattered about on the surface before he headed back. But aside from a few pumpkins, he didn't find anything too useful and decided to head back. But he'd spent too long exploring and realized that he left his boat on the shore of where he'd landed. He was gonna have to wait till daytime. Thankfully he brought a bed, so he knew that it wouldn't take too long. With finally enough items, he crafted the revolver, but unfortunately miscounted the number of leaves that he needed and wasn't able to complete the quest. Then he noticed a small plot of land just outside the village on the opposite side, which had a tree on it, and decided to investigate. Upon nearing the land, 37 spotted a small pirate ship in the distance, which he decided to visit soon. As for the land itself, it was a tiny island that consisted of a single large tree along with some pigs that were uninfected, a couple melons standing off near the tree, as well as some sugarcane that grew along the sandy paths of the tiny island. This was huge to him. A small island that was unaffected by the rising parasite apocalypse that had wildlife was too good of a fortune to pass up. Immediately, he went to replanting the sugarcane, planting more trees, as well as lighting up the region so that mobs wouldn't spawn on the island. Before heading back, he gathered the remaining leaves that he needed and went to complete his quest. However, the village lord wouldn't accept the wood, as he wanted a darker version of it. Angry that he wasn't told about this, when he first accepted the quest, 37 abandoned it, causing his reputation to drop as he made his way home for the night. In the morning, he looked for a spot to place the weather deflector down and found one in a small shelter near his house and placed it there. Deciding to return to check on the small island, he found that a cow and a sheep had spawned in the area too, adding to the wildlife. He then decided that it was time to raid the pirate ship. However, let's just say that this may not have been the best idea. Upon reaching the ship, 37 found that there were a number of spawners that housed the deck below, and cleared them from the surface by breaking the glass so as to not get into a battle while trapped below. However, it seemed as if there were more spawners after even clearing the bottom ones. He noticed yet another spawner in the middle, but he knew that if he broke it, it would cause the ship to flood, and he got distracted after hearing the zombies growling from within the walls. Then a skeleton showed up, and 37 knew where the sounds were coming from. Noticing a small opening below the deck, he slayed the skeleton that was guarding the spawner before building up to clear it. He then proceeded to the other side of the ship, where the zombie spawner was, and began to attack the zombies that were inside. However, one of them jumped down, knocking 37 into a corner, as the other jumped down too, backing up from behind. 37 fought desperately to get out of the corner, but never noticed that the zombies he just fought were infected, until it was too late. 37 woke with a jolt from his bed, finding an obituary with him containing details about his first death. He had 1 life remaining. Wasting no time, he grabbed some spare gear and made for the pirate ship. Once there, he broke in from the top deck and broke the floors below to clear the parasites from above, since they couldn't fight back. There, he noticed himself, his corpse, his avatar that was once fighting for his life, now turned into one of them. However, it proved more difficult than he thought, as his axe wasn't exactly ideal for the situation that he was in, not having enough range to swing at the parasites below. He took no sympathy in destroying his parasite form, as he knew that whatever stood in front of him wasn't him, or anything that resembled him anymore. Thankfully, it was daytime, so the spawner that he couldn't clear without a pickaxe was spawning relatively few zombies. And eventually he managed to clear the room of parasites and destroy the buglins that his form spawned in after its death. However, as he was collecting the items, he made a critical mistake, tossing his current armor pieces to the ground just as another zombie spawned in, and actually ended up almost killing him, even setting him on fire as he looped it around the lower deck. Fortunately for 37, he managed to get his stuff back and slate the zombie while it's on 1 heart. He then noticed that the so-called pig spawners that earlier had switched back to their monster variants and destroyed them too. Apparently, it seems like these spawners have the ability to trick the users into having a second life, turning into a pig spawner to confuse and disorient those mining it as to not mine it again. It was already turning night by the time he was ready to leave, and so he decided to spend the night on the ship before returning to the village in the morning. Reaching home, 37 dropped off all the items he didn't need before setting off for the mainland to gather more ores from the cave. Upon reaching the ravine, he noticed that there were 3 zombies around, 2 of which had a hand cannon, and got into a small gunfight with them. With his new revolver and the lava on his side, he was able to swiftly defeat the zombies and went down to collect the loot. However, some parasites had heard the gunfire and now began to infect other zombies who had appeared in the ravine. There, a small skirmish arose between the undead and the parasites. However, the parasites ended up winning, although losing quite a lot of them and only having 1 left, who wasn't on the best health. Finishing it off, 37 moved deep into the ravine to begin mining the ores around after clearing out a creeper that was still there. However, from the 1 parasite that he thought survived the skirmish with the undead, it turned out that the parasites had won with a decisive amount. As the group charged at 37, each one of them aiming to convert him and spread the infection, 37 was having none of it. Swiftly, he cut down the 4 parasites with the help of the flowing water nearby that was pushing the parasites back as they tried to advance and leap. He managed to clear the 4 parasites with ease, and after clearing a couple more zombies, the ravine was clear of almost all hostiles but 1 skeleton that was just chilling off in the far corners of the distance. Quickly, he took to mining all the ores that were there, all the while hearing a tornado brewing outside and hoping that it didn't reach the village. However, as he was mining, he received a dreaded message from the HQ, informing him of a rising blood. Panic quickly overtook him as he was in a cave, and blood moons from his knowledge drastically made monsters far more deadly than they already were, and caves had already many monsters. Quickly he found an area that he could dig into and caved himself in, silently hoping that no monsters would find him. Within his little hole, he made a new pickaxe and proceeded to smelt up his gold before digging to expand his hideout. Checking his mini-map that was provided to him, 37 dug his way to another small cave nearby. 37 went to collect the gold from his furnace which he smelted earlier, and used it to upgrade his revolver, turning it into a golden version, giving it far more firepower. He also came across an incomplete form, which is a parasite that couldn't exactly transform properly, in which he dispatched with a single shot from his newly upgraded gun. It was then he realized that the smaller part of the cave was connected to a much larger cave that, upon checking his map, was now swarming with enemies, many likely to be parasites due to the blood moon. Not wanting to deal with them, he blocked off the cave and decided to leave, since he figured that it was likely day by the time he finished everything down there. Leaving his crafting table and furnace behind, 37 began his cautious journey back home. coming across multiple parasites but successfully managing to take them down without too much difficulty. With that, he managed to reach the surface, and to his relief, the village looked intact. However, upon checking his vital signs, his vital device, he noticed that he had also been infected with the parasite infection, which he knew he had to wait till his body cleared the infection so as to not cause an apocalypse back in the village. Through the entire outbreak, it was quickly found out that the humans weren't exactly really affected by the infection like animals or even the undead. However, they could very well spread its contagious infection should they be near any life form. And all the test subjects chosen like 37 were immune from the infection, making them perfect candidates for the test. After the infection was gone, he made his way back home. The village sentries had noticed his efforts time after time as he constantly cleared out the parasites, earning him a lot more reputation by the time he headed home. As he was dropping off his stuff, he realized that no matter how much he mined, the parasites were evolving faster than he could get strong enough to fight back against them. He knew that in order to better equip himself, he was gonna need to locate structures that had loot within them. And so, he set a course on his compass towards a desert, which had the potential to contain high-tier loot, and bid farewell to the village as he headed off towards the desert. It took a bit of traveling, but eventually he found an area he could land at and decided to make the rest of his journey on foot. But little did he know that this was all going to go wrong. As he began to travel through the forest, he heard the distorted sound of an Enderman teleport, followed by a number of parasites immediately on his tail. With nowhere to run, he faced the horde, swinging his sword wildly and defending with his shield, hoping to prevent the parasites from getting to him. But he was swiftly cut down by the parasites that overwhelmed him.